Bone connective tissue. Bone connective tissue cannot resist compression like cartilage. It is it has a composition of calcium phosphate, therefore it cannot resist. It will break. It is vascular because of presence of calcium phosphate. As due to calcium phosphate, the diffusion is not possible. So it needs vascularization and therefore it is vascular. Otherwise, it would have died. Bone is made up of both inorganic and organic compounds. Organic compounds contains only osine and collagen. However, inorganic content, which constitute of 65%, are made up of apatite salts, which are of two types: hydroxyapatite and fluoroapatite. Hydroxyapatite is CA5OH PO3 PO4 whole 3, and fluoroapatite is CA5 PO4 whole 3 dot F. Fluorine is present in both small bones and enamel of tooth. CSCO3 is also present. The matrix of bone is hard, non-pliable, and it can't resist compression because the matrix has deposition of calcium phosphate. It also has collagen fibers. If we put bone in hydrochloric acid, then bone becomes soft and flexible due to release of calcium. If we put in KOH bone, nothing will happen to bone because muscles attached to the bone will be separated and dissolved. Cells of bone are osteoblast, osteocyte, and osteoclast. Osteoblast are the bone producing cells which produce also osine. Osteocytes are actually the bone cells, and osteoclast are the bone eating cells. Periosteum is the membrane surrounding the bone. Diagram of long bone. Here is a diagram of a long bone, which has on the two ends of long bone there are two parts, that is epiphysis, and the long part is called diaphysis. The epiphysis has small sponge bones made up of irregular bony plates known as trabeculae, and the long bone part, that is diaphysis, has periosteum on the outer side and endosteum in the inner side, and the left middle part is yellow bone marrow. The yellow bone marrow is mainly adipose tissue and functional only during emergency. It will change into red bone, and epiphysis is permanent red bone. When there is a lot of loss of blood, yellow bone marrow can be converted into red bone marrow. In epiphysis, the red bone marrow is present, which is which will form all our blood cells, that is RBC, WBC, platelets. At after 5 years of birth, the red bone marrow is that is a red bone marrow of long bones is replaced by yellow bone marrow, and by 20-25 years all the yellow bone marrow is occupied, and red bone marrow is left only in sternum, scapula, clavicle, vertebrae, pelvis, and cranial bones. In old age, the red bone marrow degenerates, and lastly, no red bone marrow remains, and it is then now called gelatinous marrow in old age. Okay, now growth of bone. Growth of grown of long bones is bidirectional, that is both directions, not unlike cartilage, which is unidirectional. Metaphysis has that is present on the two sides of the two ends of the brain the of the bone, has epiphysis that is proliferating, that is they are actively dividing, and thus growth occurs on both the sides. The cartilage added by metaphysis can be is converted into bones. Here the bones are the cartilage are secreted by this metaphysis plate, and which afterwards converts into bone, and that results in the growth of length of the bone. And by the time of puberty, this metaphysis plate is completely ossified, that is it gets converted into bone, and in x-ray no one can find metaphysis plate after puberty. Okay, now the bone cells. The osteon has a Haversian glands which are passing through the bones, and then two Haversian glands canal are connected with the Volkmann canal, and on the Haversian canal there is lamellae which contains the osteocytes and other cellular matrix. Haversian glands have blood vessels and nerves going through them, and present only in mammals. Only in mammals this structure is present. Osteon, it is a unit of bone made up of Haversian canals, lamellae, and osteocytes. Transverse section of compact bones of mammals is like this. Is one periosteum and then one endosteum, and in between both the sides there are 2 3 layers of osteoblasts here and here. There are Hervetian canals and which are connected by Volksmann canal. Like this, if there would be a this, then it would be Volksmann canal. Then there are concentric circles of lamellae which contain osteocyte. Osteocyte is the main cell. Okay, diploic bone. It is a different type of bone which has flat bones of skulls, which includes flat bones of skulls. It has compact bone on top and bottom and spongy in between. It is just the opposite. Had on the top and bottom it has compact, and in between sponge. But here we see that here on top and bottom we have spongy and in between compact. So it is just the opposite. Types of bone. There are three types of bone: replacing bone, dermal bone, and visceral bones. Replacing bone, also known as cartilage, and endocrinial and endochondral bones. In the fetal life, the entire skeleton is made up of hyaline cartilage. These bones are formed by replacement of this cartilage or by bone. The chondroclast, that is the cartilage eating cell, eats the cartilage and replaces by osteoblast. Osteoblast is the bone reproducing cell. For example, bones of what all the strong and very hard bones of our body are formed by this, which include bones of vertebral column, long bones such as humerus, radius ulna, femur, tibia, fibula, four of the bones, and then bones of girdle, that is pectoral and pelvic, that is actually all the strong bones of human body. Pectoral and pelvic. Pectoral has only scapula. Clavilla is not in this. Clavilla is investing type of bone, and pelvic and all the three, ilium, pubis, and ischium, are included in this. Each half of pelvic girdle, that is half of ilium and pubis and ischium, is made up of os innominatum, that is also known as caxal bone. Dermal or investing or membrane bones are the bones of skull and face and the clavicle of that is shoulder. These bones are formed by in the dermis of skin and are laid or invested over the already present cartilage, something like decomposition. At the time of birth, number of unossified areas are present in skull, called fondatrils. These are slightly sliding bones. As child passes through birth canal, making birth easier, they are completely ossified, that is covered by bone by 1.5 से 2 साल में. Sesamoids bones are of those bones which are formed by ossification, that is or ossification of tendon. For example, patella, knee, and pisiform bone, that is smallest carpal bone of hand, and fibula. Visceral bones are different type of bones. This is also known as heterotropic typic bone. These are the bones that are detached from the skeleton. Human body has no visceral bones. Example, os cardine, which is in the interverticular septum of other mammals. Os penis is present in ventral surface of penis of rat, bat, and carnivore. Very frequently asked question, rat. And os palpebrae is in the eyelid of crocodile. Then os falciparum is present in the palm of mole. Os rostralis is present in the rostrum of pig, and os innominatum is not a visceral bone, it is a replacing bone. Os innominatum, it is the half of the pelvic girdle.